Namaskar, everyone. I'm Keshav Suri, and I'm a human being. Welcome to JioSaavn's I Hour. So happy to be able to have this conversation on the LGBTQI plus community today with Rani Ko-HE-Nur. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Over to you, Rani.
Hello! How's that for an entrance, mother? And just so that our viewers and listeners, know you are Keshav Suri, the executive director of the Lalit Hospitality Group. But not only that, you are a humanitarian. Your philanthropic activities precede you, and you are, an all-round diva. That is a full-time. That is actually your full-time job. And apart from that, you are my drag mother. You are the one who
Oh,
gave birth to Rani Ko-HE-Nur. So, how's that for an introduction? Do I get a tip later on, PDM?
$10,000.
She's a winner, honey. It's a pleasure to see you after so long and have this conversation with you because you are literally the one that is responsible for Rani Ko-HE-Nur sort of starting her journey in the performing arts because this one day you just called me up and you were like, pack your bags and you're coming to Delhi. And I was like, okay, I'm scared. And then you just believed in me, and very few people do that. And as we get into the conversation, and we'll discuss that. But you have done not only for me or for a handful of people, but for so many of us. And I'm really thankful for you and to you.
Baby, I want to come and just say something. You were always a star. So irrespective of whether, I booked you or not, you were always a star. You were always going to go places, and your talent is just, you can't even describe it in words. So I'm very grateful that you thank me, but I mean, really, you should be thanking yourself because it's all on your talent.
A lot of people from the community I've seen that are so talented, but the only stage they've really ever got and felt themselves to be the person their true authentic selves are on the stage of a kitty soup or a Lalit program, when we have one of the Christmas parties, or we have a get together or something like that. Even something as basic as a flag hoisting on a Republic Day, the way you've kind of made sure that they're trained to normalize LGBT people is just outstanding. I always give this example, not because whether you're there in the room or not, but I always do this. And I think it's very essential that people understand and walk the talk. For everybody who's wondering why am I calling your mother? Well, as JioSaavn puts it, mother doesn't depend on the gender you are. Mother is an emotion, and you're so motherly to all of us, and you take care of us, and you deal with all our bullshit, and you counsel us, and you're just there like a mother figure to all of us, which is why your mother. And also because really technically you gave birth to Rani Ko-HE-Nur on the couch that you're sitting on right now. So
You just called me old and you called me a couch potato. That's all I heard from the last 5 minutes of your rant. I'm joking, of course. Oh.
all right. So Mother K, we're celebrating World Pride Month, and the Stonewall riots, which started on the 28th of June, and which is why which they sort of and then went on till the 3rd of July. And that's why we kind of we celebrate Pride, and Pride has always been a protest, as they say. And of course, now we enjoy our rights and we enjoy our freedom because of what our LGBTQI plus forefathers, brothers and sisters, gave up for us to see this day. So what do you say? How do you see the the importance of celebrating this month in a country like ours, where
Yeah.
we have a very long way to go when it comes to equality for the community?
For me, I think the Stonewall riots, as they call it, was actually the birth of the queer liberation movement. When it happened, there were so many stories that went around: who threw the first brick, Was it a queer woman? Was it a gender non-conforming person? Was it Marsha P. Johnson? Was it Sylvia? And so, at that whole epicenter of the conversation, what it was that it was the first time that there was a queer liberation movement that happened. There were, of course, many, riots that happened before that as well. And
Right.
also each country has its own, history and equation with pride. But this was the first time that actually, I think everywhere around the world as well, people took notice of queer rights, as well as it sort of snowballed into a domino effect, and it happened internationally and globally. What I think Stonewall also did was that it sort of brought the entire community together for the first time, where you had trans people, queer people, lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and it sort of then changed every year. And then when we had the HIV sort of pandemic, again, it brought the community together to basically fight this common enemy. And at that time, it was HIV. At that time, HIV was a big death sentence. And now I'm going back into the late 70s and 80s. Of course, a lot of that has changed now. And
Yeah.
but we still have a huge way to go. Now, if we take pride and global pride and put it into each country's perspective, whereas in India, we just got decriminalized, might have been looking like a small sort of step, but it's a huge step because it's the first step that needs to happen to recognize us as a part of mainstream society. And only then will we be able to build on to further rights and hopefully one day marriage equality. I think pride means different, and yes, international global pride is in June, but we also have our own individual city prides which must be celebrated and brought into each country's perspective.
Let's tell our listeners and our viewers what LGBTQIA plus really means.
L is lesbian. I think people should know. I might to explain. When two women are in love with each other, and basically a person who's born cisgendered female is attracted to another female, and that's lesbian. Gay is a cisgendered male who's attracted to another cisgendered male and wants to spend the rest of their lives with another man. Bisexual is somebody who's sort of sexually fluid into both genders. And then there is transgender. Transgender, by the way, forms a huge part of our culture in India
Yes.
and our history in India. So one of the most ancient genders, which is written down in various history books, and I would recommend everybody go read so much of literature on just the trans community. And then, of course, there is the queer community, which sort of encompasses everyone now, because what is the definition of queer? A single mom is queer, a single dad is queer. I think everybody is queer. And I think by the end of it, we're going to have every letter from A to Z.
The alphabet.
The alphabet. Of course, there are gender non-conforming and non-binary people who basically don't believe in, conforming to a particular stereotype of gender.
Oh, did I say this out loud? I am fluid. I haven't said this anywhere on any other platform.
Wow.
There, ooh, honey. I had to tell
Yay!
you, I'm fluid. So I just realized, I don't know why I just realized I'm fluid. The world, I think, already knew. I've realized that fluidity is so beautiful. And which is why I think we've also put a plus, Mother. Asexual, by the way, are
Yes.
people who don't
Yes.
have, sexual tendencies, but they might have an affectionate or emotional or a spiritual connection with with their partners,
Yes.
and they're not very sexually inclined to with sexual activities towards them.
There is intersex as well, and yes, A also can stand for ally, which is then
Which is
everybody.
why.
See, gender and sexuality is so complex. And there is really no clear-cut definition per se. So it's even for us also as queer people, just because we're queer does not mean that we understand the complexities of the LGBTQIA plus community. Also that we can even give you the full definitions of what everything stands for. What I would
Yes.
highly recommend for everyone is that there's so much of literature now available, thanks to the internet, and just thanks to globalization. There's so much that is available, and as much as we educate ourselves, personally, I feel the more we educate ourselves, the more we're willing to grow and understand, as well as eradicate a little bit of the hatred and the fear of the unknown.
The thing is that we need to really come together in times like this, and we really should stop shaming people from within the community. There's a lot of inverse discrimination that happens on many levels. There's fat shaming, there's femme shaming, there's side shaming. There's so much shaming within the community that happens, that a lot of times our biggest enemies happen to be, unfortunately, from within the community. So, what is this one message that you would like to probably give a young person watching this and a young queer person watching this?
I really think that one thing that this pandemic has sort of taught us is that we need to come together for humanity's sake. The less the segregation, the better, right? We need to all be able to come together for a common goal, which is just basically spreading love and positivity and taking care of each other. As a young queer person, I would really like to say is that, come together, come for a purpose of actually showing love, empathy, and compassion to everyone around you in whatever way possible, because where the world in itself right now is in such a dark space, with what's going on in United States, with what's going on in India, not just the pandemic, but the various fractures that we've got in our society, be it religious fractures, be it the class system, be it the color of your skin. Already it's very dark, and we don't need to further perpetuate that darkness by pulling each other down.
Yeah.
We should be pulling each other up. Already this year, International Pride is going to be a very sort of dark-esque pride, because it's going to be more done virtually because of the pandemic. And we don't know what's going to happen when we have our prides in India. We need to forget about the old world, because it's a new world that we're building. Let's
Yes.
build this new world with positivity. Let's build it by taking away the evils of the earlier world and actually building a world where we all come together.
And also, I would just like to tell people that, the people who are being mean or nasty to you also come from a place of not feeling loved, or you're not
Yes.
receiving that importance. So I think that, instead of getting angry and agitated, uh, which is what, most of us, that is the first thing to happen, right?
Yeah.
How can she say this? How can they say this to me? But, I realized that that person that, says something nasty is not in a good space themselves. So we must understand that,
Yeah.
and feel bad, and in fact empathize and be compassionate and say that, here's a hug. Well, not now.
let, let,
Here's a
let's put it in this way. It's the queer community in India right now has also some of us have had to go back into the closet, because we are to
yes,
stay with our family and friends who don't even know that we're queer. So I think it's very easy for us to go into that negative headspace, and it's very easy for us to give into impulse right now, because we've got a lot of
yeah,
that time in our hand. But I would say that first, breathe, take a deep breath, don't give in to your worst impulse, and see how you can really turn that negativity into some positive work. That's how I dealt with
great.
this whole situation, is that I've really taken all the negative headspace that I have gone into, and I have, because it's really a dark world right now we're living in. And everything is suffering. There's not a single person out there who's not suffered because of this. How I channelized that was that I was like, okay, what can I do to help? So that's how I immediately was like, okay, we'll reach out to all the trans community in India. We'll make sure that they have money. We'll make sure that they have food. We'll open up all our kitchens of my hotels to make sure that all the laborers that are around the hotel will get food. We'll make sure that we open our hotels for the doctors. We'll make sure that the doctors are treated really, really, thing. And these were decisions that I was like, okay, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. No time for thinking of how negative also the world is negative, this is impacting my business or my foundation. I was like, no, let's focus on what we can do to really help in this situation. And I think this is how.
Talking about what, sort of liberates a lot of us, music. Music liberates so many of us, because music doesn't discriminate. Music doesn't have labels. Music is,
Yep.
Music transcends barriers, sexuality, orientation, gender, nationality, everything, any dimension, and I'm so happy that I have been gifted to touch people's hearts through music.
That's what attracted me to you, was your voice. Even through the phone and through whatever little bit of YouTube at that time I saw, I was like, okay, this is a person, speaking to my soul through their voice. And that's exactly what happened when I was growing up. When, of course, JioSaavn asked me to put down a playlist of, your top 15 songs. I have like 5,000 songs and top 15 artists. I had so many artists. But one thing was very common, was that whenever these artists would come on, I could express myself in a way that I couldn't express myself in words, maybe to my friends or my family. And if a Madonna song came on, or if a George Michael song came on, or anything from Divine is completely, a subculture and subversion at its best, all of that formed my sexuality in a way, and also my queerness in a way that I felt free.
And then there was a wedding. There was your wedding. Oh my
Yeah.
God! It was a musical extravaganza, and
True.
because there was such, it was lovely. And when you spoke about Madonna, I remember that your solo sort of moment was when you were in drag and you felt so liberated. I loved it. And then you were like, okay, it's beautiful, but now get me out of this. And then
Yeah.
you went on stage and you express yourself.
You're right. Music has always been something that brought even my husband and me together, and brought my family together too. Somebody as legendary as Madonna, my father was a fan of, my mom's a fan of, my sisters are a fan of, my nieces and nephews are listening to. It doesn't look at age. And it was so important for, yes, our wedding to have music as center stage, and performances and drag performances, and all of that, because that is basically what even brought Cyril and me together. But yes, I was so proud to be able to do the wedding, and lucky. You're absolutely right, lucky, because it was love that really brought my family to this space to have a queer wedding. So it's because of the beauty that I've had in my life, in terms of the love that has been given to me, is how I can spread it to everyone else. And that's why the message of pure love has always been a part of my DNA.
Even the JioSaavn team has taken it upon themselves to sort of sensitize their colleagues and stuff. It's not just a tick mark in the box, and saying that, oh yeah, we're doing a Pride Month activity because we want to show our consumers that we are inclusive. But even Keshav has gone forward and sort of been inclusive, not only because he's out and proud and a gay man, but the thing is that he's gone and given and approached people who are burn survivors, who are straight. A lot of people might think that, oh, he only gives gay people or LGBT people jobs. That's absolutely not true. And I think that, that is one misconception that we need to kind of get rid of. I think what is very beautiful is that Keshav will make sure that it's a conducive environment for everybody to go, which is why we have not killed each other. A lot of us who work under him and for him, we have not killed each other. If it was somebody else, we would have been in jail by now. I would have killed at least 5 people. I know. I can name them later off camera. But because of Keshav, I think that we have been very we've sort of sobered down so much. I've actually started working out and I've gained some muscle.
That's
No, because
hard.
thanks. But Keshav is like the one who tells us that I love the conversations I have so candidly with you, mother. That when you tell me that you have to always better yourself and you have to sort of do this, don't do this, and this might add to your art and craft. Who does this? Tell me one person who does all these things. And you are so available for all the damn queens that will message you from when you're in some other part of the world on your honeymoon, and someone is saying, I didn't get my payment, and you're just consoling them. I'm like, which I would have sent goons. I would have sent my
remember
brother
that.
to kill. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you so
Oh.
calmly have taken all of it in, and you've been so helpful to each and every one of us. So here is this one special song that I want to sing for you. Before that, do you have any parting message or parting words?
Just that you're going to make me cry with all the love and the compliments that you've given me. I'm going to, after this, I'm a terrible public crier, if that's a word. So I'm going to go ahead and be like, thing. But no, that's very kind of you. Of course, like we were discussing earlier, you can't just be one thing in life, right? You are a sort of intersection of many things, and that's how exactly I want to have my team. Thank you for bringing up Sonia, who's an acid attack survivor, who you've had the pleasure of meeting and also, interacting with. And there is, I mean, of course, there's Varun, who's differently abled. We've done a lot when it comes to that community. I think the point is, listen, we're all one community, and that's just human beings right now. And I really glad that my message has really gone to you and to all the other people that I have worked with, because then I've done something right.
All right, thank you, and I love you. Big hugs to you and
Love
to
you
the
too.
entire team. Having said that, we come to the end of this session. My special dedication to everybody working at the Lalit group, at the Kitty Su, with the Kitty Su family, with the Keshav Suri Foundation. It Gets Better India, which also you do so much good work for. So
Yes.
all of you and all our listeners, and especially you, mother, and your mother also. This song is for you. Okay, here goes. मैं कहती हूँ. Oh shit, sorry, that was for another session. That was for another session. That was for another session. Girl, I'm getting it confused, honey. So, Beta Keshav. I'm sorry, what's happening to me? Sorry. Oh God, Lord. नहीं 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 ये बातें हैं पुरानी. ओ कैसी पहेली है ये, कैसी पहेली जिंदगानी. ला 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 थामा रोका इसको किसने, ये तो बहता पानी. ओ कैसी कैसी पहेली जिंदगानी. ला 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 ला. Zoo 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 zoo. La 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 la.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and it was a pleasure chatting with you, and just be this fabulous, just be this person you are, because every day you inspire so many of us. And before I get emotional and spoil this makeup because I don't have stock, I'm going to run. I love you, and you know that. Thank you so much for joining us, guys and girls and queer people and straight people and human beings, on this special edition of Ally Hour. Thank you, JioSaavn, for doing this. We love you. Wet kisses.
Love you guys. Thank you.